Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Logus and I will be taking you through numbers 13 to 18 on the review packet for Chapter 1 test. So let's start here with number 13. Given that ray DG, so that looks like this, starts at D, goes forever towards G, that bisects, in the word bisect means split in half, and it splits the angle ODS. So that means you start at O, the middle is D, and goes to S. So what that means is on our picture, as soon as we see the word bisect, that means that this angle here, ODG, is going to be congruent to GDS. So let me even write that up here. The measure of angle ODG is going to be congruent to the measure of angle SDG, those two green angles. So what that means in terms of an equation, my goal is to find out what x is. So ODG is 26 and GDS is 5x plus 11. So because these two things are congruent, that means that we can say that 26 is equal or equivalent to 5x plus 11. So what we could do is solve for x. We could subtract 11 on both sides, get 5x equals 15, divide by 5, and get that x equals 3. Number 14, M is the midpoint of ST. So if M is the midpoint divides this segment into two equal segments, which means that this segment and this segment are the same length, or to write it in symbolism, segment SM is congruent to segment TM. Notice that I'm using the segment symbols when I say that. So what we could say from there, my goal is first to identify the bisector. Point M is the bisector. You could also say that line L is the bisector, because this line is also going through that midpoint, so that could also be the thing that is splitting it in half. So what we can do to start this out is write an equation, because we want to find what x is first. So SM is symbolized by 6x squared minus 4x, and TM is symbolized by 5x squared plus 45. So we can say that these two segments are the same length, they're equal in measure, and we can solve this equation. So the first thing I would do is get the x squareds together on one side. So I'd move that over. 6 minus 5 gets me 1x squared, or just x squared, minus 4x equals 45. As soon as I see something that's squared, that tells me that I should factor, and that should tell me that my equation should equal 0. So I'm going to subtract my 45 over here, and I'm going to get 0 equals x squared minus 4x minus 45. So if I factor this, we're trying to multiply to be negative 45 and add to be negative 4. So a pair of numbers that makes that true would be 9 times 5, negative 9, positive 5. And then if you set both of these parentheses equal to 0, your two possible answers for x would be positive 9 and negative 5. So what we're going to do now is use this idea to check and see what we can find for the length of SM. So SM in this problem is symbolized by 6x squared minus 4x. And if either of these values here cause a segment length to be negative, then we cannot have that x value. So it's okay for the x to be negative, but we cannot have a negative segment length. So I'm just going to write that up here. Cannot have a negative segment length. So let's plug in these two values and see. So right now I'm going to write x is 9 and negative 5. If one of them doesn't work, we'll just cross it out. Let's try 9 first. 6 times 9 squared minus 4 times 9. So if we keep simplifying this, 9 squared, if we follow the order of operations, we have to do this first. That's 81 times 6 minus 4 times 9, or 36. 81 times 6 is 486. Minus 36 gives me a very large answer of 450. Now that value is huge, but it's not negative. So that means that 9 works, and one possible length of SM is, oddly enough, 450 units. Now, if I check -5, let me do 6x squared minus 4x like this. Let me plug in -5 for x this time. 6 times -5 squared minus 4 times -5. If we follow the order of operations again, -5 squared is positive 25 times 6, and then the negative times negative becomes a positive 20. 6 times 25 is 150 plus 20, which gives me 170. So you have 2 possible lengths for SM and 2 possible values for X. Now what you could do to make sure that your answer makes sense is you also could plug your X values into this as well, the other side, because we know that these 2 segments should be equal to each other. So if you'd like to, on a test, make sure that your answers are right, you could take 9 and plug it in. And let me do the work up here. You could do 5 times 9 squared plus 45. And then you could do 5 times -5 squared plus 45. So that would be 81 times 5 plus 45. Let's see, 81 times 5 plus 45. That gives me an answer of 450, which is the same as down here. And then 5 times -5 squared is 25 plus 45. 5 times 25 plus 45 is 170. Yes, so I got the same answer twice. So that means that these are my answers for X and these are my answers for SM. Number 15, one of 2 complementary angles. Let me just stop right there. Complementary means angles that add up to 90 degrees. So that means in my picture, that means that these 2 angles together form a right angle or form 90 degrees. So one of 2 complementary angles is 8 times the other. So I don't know what either angle is. So I'm going to call one of the angles X. And if the other one is 8 times as large, or 8 times the other, I'm going to call this one 8X. So that means, like, if I label my picture A, B, C, D, for instance, angle ABD plus angle DBC equals the whole angle ABC. So piece plus piece equals whole, or in this case, 8x plus x equals 90 degrees, which if solved, these are like terms. 9x, because there's a 1 there, equals 90, x equals 10. So that means that if you're thinking about what both pieces mean, this represents this value. So that means that this angle right here is 10 degrees, and this angle right here is 8 times 10, or 80 degrees. So my 2 answers are 10 degrees and 80 degrees. And I know that your picture doesn't look quite like that, but you can never quite assume from a picture what the measures are. Number 16, one of 2 supplementary angles. Pause here. Supplementary means adds up to a straight angle or 180 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a straight line or a straight angle. I'm going to draw an angle sticking up out of there so that I have 2 different angles that I can deal with. One of 2 supplementary angles is 10 less than 4 times the other. Okay, again, I don't know what one of the angles is. So I'm going to call this angle X, and I'm going to call this angle whatever this is. So if I went back to this one, we labeled 2 different things. We called this one X, and we called this one 8x. So here, 10 less than 4 times the other. Okay, well, 4 times the other is 4 times x. And if you're doing 10 less than that, you would subtract 10 from 4x. So now, the purple angle and the blue angle together form this straight line, and this whole straight line is 180 degrees. So what we could say is the first angle of 4x minus 10 plus the second angle of just x, and let me even use the same color so you know where they're coming from. So 4x minus 10 plus x equals 180 degrees. So if I combine my like terms, this and this, there's a 1 there. We have 5x minus 10 equals 180. Add the 10. 5x equals 190 degrees, 5x equals 190. If I do 190 divided by 5, I would get that x is 38. So that means in my picture, x is 38 degrees, so one of my angles is 38. And the other one, I'd have to plug in 38 for x. So 4 times 38 minus 10, 4 times 38 is 152 minus 10, that's 142. So the other angle is 142 degrees. Now, to point this out, both of these questions, we could make sure that we're correct. Here's what I mean. If complementary means two angles that have to be 90, 10 plus 80 does truly equal 90. So that makes me feel good about my answers. This problem, if I take 38 plus 142 and I add them up, the two angles are supposed to be supplementary or add up to 180, and they do. So that makes me feel good about this problem as well. Number 17, the supplement, these are the tricky ones with two different things. The supplement of an angle is 4 times the measure of the complement of the angle. We want to find the angle and the supplement. So these two previous problems, we just used x throughout the whole thing because this problem, we had two of the same type of angle. We had two complementary angles. Here we have two supplementary angles. Now this one, we have a supplement, we use highlighter, we have a supplement and a complement. So as soon as I see both words in the same problem, here's what we do. We'd call x just the plane angle. We would call 90 minus x the complement of the angle. And we would call 180 minus x the supplement of the angle, because complement means adds to 90, supplement means adds to 180. So here's an equation we can use. Let's follow it exactly as we see it, meaning the word is really often means equals. So if it says the supplement of an angle is, supplement is abbreviated as 180 minus x. So 180 minus x equals 4 times the measure of the complement. So 4 times the complement is 90 minus x. So 4 times the entirety of 90 minus x. So there's my equation based on the language. So what I'm going to do is solve for x. I'm going to do 180 minus x equals 360 minus 4x. I then am going to continue to solve and move the 4x to the other side. So I'm going to get 360 equals 3x plus 180. I'm going to subtract 180. 3x equals, if I take 360 minus 180, I should get 180 again. Nope. Then if let me rewrite this so it's a little bit more neat. 3x equals 180. Divide both sides by 3. You get x is 60. Now, at the beginning of the problem, we said that x is my angle. So if I'm asking for my angle, that answer is 60 degrees. If I'm asking for the supplement of my angle, supplement means adds up to be 180 degrees. So the supplement would be 180 minus the answer that I just found. So this answer would be 120 degrees. Last but not least, number 18. I believe that's the last one. Yes. The complement of an angle is 60 less than half the supplement of the angle. My goal is to find what the angle is. So let me label again. X is going to be just my angle. 90 minus x is going to be the complement of my angle. 180 minus x is going to be the supplement of my angle. So let's try to write an equation based on this information. So the complement of an angle is 90 minus x equals, because this again, as soon as I see is, that means equals. Okay, 60 less than half the supplement. Okay, half the supplement is half of 180 minus x. And then we're 60 less than that, so then we're subtracting 60 afterwards. So what we do is similar to the last problem, we would distribute and try to find my answer for x. So over here I would distribute. I'd have 90 minus x equals half of 180, or 180 divided by 2 is 90. Half times x is negative 1/2 x, and then I have my minus 60. If I combine these like terms, I'd get 90 minus x on this side equals 90 minus 60 is 30 minus 1/2 x. You can do this in any order, but let's say I want to add the 1/2 x to this x. There's really a 1 here, so that would be 90, and then negative 1 plus 1/2 is negative 1/2, or negative 0.5. So I could even change the equation to look like this, if it helps you. You would then subtract the 90. Negative 0.5x equals negative 60. Divide by negative 0.5. Negative 60 divided by negative 0.5 is 120. So the answer for this problem for the angle, or x, is 120 degrees. And that's funny that we had 2 answers in a row of 120. Not planned, but totally fine. So, in summary, before we end, here's my suggestion on these word problems, especially 15 to 18. I would highly suggest that if you see a phrase like one of 2 complementary angles or one of 2 supplementary angles, that's when you only use x. You don't use the notation of 180 minus x or 90 minus x. This notation here that I'll highlight, this notation only comes up when you see the words supplement and complement in the same problem. So a lot of these take some time. A lot of these you have to understand that you're finding the x value first and then plugging it back in. Feel free to watch this video as many times as you need, and feel free to ask either myself or Mr. McConey whatever questions you have. All right, guys, thank you so much, and good luck on the test.